Welcome to the Facebook Live event, everyone. Today we are coming to you live from our Prep Doctors Toronto campus. This session is called Practice Dentistry in Canada because we're going to give you all the information about Canadian dental licensure, achieving dental equivalency in Canada.
Yeah.
And it's going to cover all the information right from registering with the NDEB to actual studying for the exams, which is quite difficult.
Yeah.
Today we are joined by Dr. Fersan Marei. For those of you who don't know him already, he is a practicing dentist in Ontario, and he is also a very important member of our panel of instructors here at Prep Doctors. Dr. Mortaz couldn't be with us today, so let's get started. Dr. Fersan, tell us something about yourself.
Hey, how are you? My name is Dr. Fersan. I moved on to Canada in 2012 and I started doing the process in 2014. I was done with the process in late 2015, and then since then I'm already starting to be an instructor here. I start to teach at Prep Doctors, and also I'm a practicing dentist here in Ontario, Canada.
Great. Welcome, doctor. Thank you so much for being with us today. So let's quickly dive into it. We have a lot of people who have joined us already. Welcome to everybody. Before we get started, let me just tell you guys that this is going to be a live Q&A. So feel free to send us your questions anytime during the conversation in the comments below. We will be taking up your questions towards the end of the session. The initial bit is going to be some information that Dr. Fersan is going to give us.
Yeah.
And towards the end, we'll take all your questions and he'll try his best to answer them for you. So let's start with our info session right now. Doctor, what is the NDEB? How does one get started with actually starting on the route to achieving their Canadian dental licensure?
Okay, NDEB stands for National Dental Examining Board of Canada. They are the people who are responsible for doing the equivalency process for the non-accredited dentists all around the world. So the first step to start the process is to do the registration, which usually takes a quite bit long time. Now it's, I think, 12 to 14 weeks of waiting.
Okay.
Yeah, so registration is the first step to get in. And the first advice I would give it to anyone who's starting the registration is to make sure you submit your paper the right way, the way NDEB want them exactly.
So, doctor, where does one go to register?
Again?
Is there a website? Does
Yes,
the
exactly.
NDEB
The
have
website,
a website?
they have a ndeb.ca, the website for the NDEB in general. You go there, you hit the non-accredited tab, and then you start with the registration.
Okay.
And also you're gonna find an information according to each country now. They, I think,
Great.
updated very lately.
Okay.
Also, when you go, let's say you are from South Africa, you can hit South Africa, you will know exactly what they want. Try to follow their papers
Okay.
the way they want them to be, just because usually people, they fall down, they failing on submitting the right papers, it will lead to another 12 to 14 weeks of waiting, because when they open your paper, it's really better to have them all set and ready from the first time. So you will be just making the process of registration as short as possible.
Perfect.
Otherwise it will take time, and exams are 2 cycles in a year, so you don't have to miss any of these.
Okay, so that's perfect. And as you said, there's all the information is
Yes.
out there on the website.
And yeah, again, if you really want to know this information, everything is in detailed in the NDEB website. You don't really need to ask anyone. You might take an information from someone who got in. I'll give you an example. In my time, the registration was totally different. The timing, all the required documents. So there's an update from 6 to 12 months. Keep an update with the NDEB. See what they need exactly, and don't rely on personal experience in general, because sometimes they are outdated.
Great. That's really great advice, doctor. While we are talking about the registrations, can you quickly tell us one or two very common mistakes that people make for their registration with the NDEB?
One of the most common mistakes is usually the translations. people, they usually, when they do the translation, if they weren't in English, they just go to non-accredited translator, to the Canadian government or to the NDEB themselves. So it's better to know the right translator, because usually this is one of the main, of the common problems in papers. The second one is the actual certificate, the graduation certificate, which people sometimes they fail to submit it, or they don't have it, or they send just a paper which is not not in a proper seals in general. It's not like it should be a certified copy in general. And if some countries now, and like I need everyone to focus, from some countries they need the original. They will take it and they will send it back to them when they finish the registration in general.
Perfect. That's really good advice, doctor. So now that we have registered, we're all set. We got our acceptance from the NDEB.
Yes.
How does one start?
Yes, so the first exam is gonna be open for anyone who finished the registration, who got the registration confirmed, is the AFK. AFK basically is the Assessment of Fundamental Knowledge exam. It's just it's a 2 booklet exams taking in one day. You have to take a morning book and the afternoon book. It's consistent of 150 questions the first book and 150 questions the second book, 300 questions in total. The questions will touch upon all aspects of dentistry in a knowledge wise. Okay, they will go over like pharmacology, like periodontist, endodontic, all of the aspects of dentistry. They will be like represent in certain amount in the exam, a certain percentage in this exam. The exam is considered a bit tough in the start. As we said, like here we provide a very good course for it. Like we cover a lot of whatever NDEB wants, or like up to more than 95% of the material you want really to start with. We already have it, we provided in our course.
Okay, so AFK, as you said, is one of them. How many exams are there in total?
Okay, so the equivalency process is consistent of 3 exams.
Okay.
And this is one step before getting the NDEB, because the second step is to do the board exams. There's another 2 exams. So in total, to finish the whole NDEB process, you have 5 exams.
Okay.
3 exams for the people who came from non-accredited schools all around the world, basically, except from the accredited schools they consider to be Canadian, American, Australian. I think there's New Zealand and Ireland.
Okay, so anyone coming from any countries other than the ones you mentioned.
Exactly, they have to go through the equivalency process. The equivalency process has those 3 exams, a bit challenging, like AFK, then ACJ and ACS.
All right. So, doctor, you gave us a really good explanation about a gist of what AFK is. Can you give us a little bit of an idea of what the ACJ and the ACS are?
Yeah, the ACJ in general, it's like an exam which you're gonna be examined over the cases. They're gonna provide the cases. The exam is consistent of like 6 to 10 cases. Each case has like 5 from 6 to 10 series of questions. They gonna cover also multiple aspects of dentistry in a different way, and like they're gonna see your judgment or your call when you have these cases in the clinic. So they're gonna touch about the clinical judgment or your judgment while you are treating the patient. It's consistent of pharmacology and prescriptions. There's perio-charting and perio-diagnosis, endo-diagnosis, restorative, medical emergencies, and like another aspects in general. This is for the first book, which consistent of 60 questions.
Okay.
Let me just rearrange it again. So the exam is 2 books, morning and afternoon, the same thing. Morning exam is gonna be 60 questions. They're gonna be just cases. These cases will be 6 to 10 in number, and on each case there's 5 to 10 questions in general.
Okay.
And then in the afternoon session, they're gonna have a 60 questions. They're gonna be a radiographic interpretation in general. So they will be having a lot of X-rays, like 60 X-rays, and there's a questions. And the problem or the toughest part of this question, it's a multiple of a multiple questions. That each question has about 6 to 15 different answers.
Okay.
Each question will have a lot of -1, which if you choose them, they will cancel the question. And there's some benign answer and some correct answers.
All right.
So if you hit any wrong answer in general, the question will be already gone. You're gonna lose it right away, even though if you choose a right question.
Okay.
This is the challenge usually when we are giving the course here. We would like we are trying our best to put the students or the dentist, like, to put them in the same expectation of the exam, and also to tell them exactly how they have to answer these exams.
Right. So we try to simulate the exact thing that happens.
We try our best to simulate it. We have
Perfect.
at least 3 mock exams, by the way, in all courses, not only in ACJ.
Right.
But for ACJ, we try to try to copy, or not to copy, let's say, try to make it as close as possible to the exam.
Right.
We give them the same experience almost,
Right.
even in marking way.
Okay, it's great that you brought that up,
Yeah.
doctor, because my next question was going to be, what role does prep doctors play? So where do we come in? Because this is a really complex process, and where does an entity like the prep doctors, instructors like you, what role do we play?
Okay, so like here we just put a lot of experience, a lot of effort. We know a lot about these exams. Most of our instructors, they already have done these exams. So we put this experience together, and we just give it to the student, like a bit by a bit, according to their needs at that time. Let's say in the AFK, we'll be focusing on AFK, what they have to focus on, we will push that over. We also keep updating the materials according to any changes happened from the NDEB. Okay, so in general, the experience we already have is one of the things that people will benefit a lot from it, because this is an exam, is not like a worldwide exam. Like, this is especially for Canadians or the Canadian dentist, and there's not many of people are doing it when you compare to the world in general. So when you look at it, to find an information for these exams, it's a bit tough. Okay, so unless you have like a center like prep doctors here, we have all of these experience. This is the only thing, or like the best thing we could provide as a start.
Right, absolutely.
And we help from the start to the end, and even we go beyond most of the time.
Yes, and that's very evident even from we get wonderful messages and reviews by our students, and this is what everybody says as well. So that completely makes sense. So doctor, while we're talking about our approach, what are our specific approaches to the ACS, ACJ and AFK exams? What are our special techniques that we use?
So here, like, the approaches is usually we try all the time to find the best way it fits every or each individual student or dentist when they are taking the courses, especially in ACJ and ACS. ACJ, usually we try to make make everyone familiar with the exam as much as we can. So when they go to the exam, they don't have that shock from the exam, because there is nothing, there is no information on DB provided according to it, except for the small parts they provided in their websites. So by just giving them, by making them familiar with these, it's gonna, I think, help also the most. Also by providing the information you wanted for this exam. For ACS, we focus according to each student pace, because we focus on each one. Each student has a different experience. The skills also, it might varies. The way students approach it might vary. There is different techniques we are focusing on. Each instructor will put and help with his own way. And at the end of the day, it's like the student, he has to choose the best way it fits them. So it's basically, we give them many options. We might even give them a word, this is the way it fits you the best. They might try it. It's they will keep on trying in the start. And in the last 3 months of the course usually is a 5-month course. In the last 3 months, we focus on just putting on all of the work that happened in the first 2 months, work on making the quality better with a less time in general, because the exam is 2 days, the skills one. The exam's 2 days. It has 12 projects. We didn't talk about the skills, by the way, as in general. So let me give an information, small information about it. So ACS exam, it has 12 projects. You have to do half of them in day 1, half of them in day 2. The exam, it will carry on for 7 hours every day in day 1 and day 2. So and it's the student choice usually for at least 9 projects. to do them anytime they want, in the start and the end, and also the time to spend, it depends on the students.
Right.
So the problem with this exam is like the stress people are going through, because you know, it's like a lot.
It is stressful.
Exactly, it's
Yes.
a life-changing or a turning point for
Right.
the students at that level, because when they reach to that point, they are just like almost done with the equivalency
Right.
process. So the stress, if something goes wrong, how they manage it, this is mostly the complication, because if you take our courses and you go to the exam, I'm sure the skills, it's going to be more than enough to cover that.
Okay.
Okay, we try also to put students in our course under that stress for a certain extent. It's not going to be exactly as the exam, but again, we try our best to do that. We have also mock exams, and we try to mark them anonymously the same way NDEB is doing that.
Okay.
And like these mock exams, they literally help students to put them, or to like give them a good idea of how the exam is going to be.
All right.
Yeah.
That's great, doctor. So apart from the mock exams,
Yeah.
what all is included in our courses?
Yeah.
What is the study material that comes with it?
Okay, so like now I'll talk about first the AFK. The study materials, it covers mostly everything you need.
Okay.
Let's say 95%.
So is that prep doctor study material?
It's like we build it up in general
Okay.
from textbooks and from like the general dental like textbooks in general. So
Right.
we took whatever like the best parts which people really need, or the students really need to take to do these exams. And again, one of the most questions we usually have, like, what should we study after this? Like I always tell them, if you finish those material, we will tell you, but like the
Okay.
materials by itself is not, it's a huge, it's not
Okay.
like it's more than enough, and
It's very vast.
yeah, it's very like it's covering mostly everything toward the exam. And then for ACJ, again, it's not, the ACJ part is not about knowledge, because you already had the knowledge from the
Right.
AFK. It's about how to deal with the exam itself, how to answer, and how to just direct that knowledge to certain, like to the certain aspect of dentistry regarding the diagnosis and the judgment, the clinical judgment. So again, we provide also a very an updated material. It would, usually the ACJ get updated every 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's always a new things in dentistry,
Right.
and also we try to apply that in effect right away. Even sometime inside the course, if something got changed, we also update the student with it,
Okay.
because this is like, you know, changing over a daily basis in
Definitely.
general all around the world. Then regarding the skills, we usually provide all the demos.
Okay.
We have 2 days of work check in general. We have 1 day of live demos. We like instructors, they come and they give demos. We have also 20, like I think throughout the course we have like a videos stations for anyone to watch like the demos over videos.
So these
also.
video stations are on the tablets?
Yes,
Okay.
they're going to be taking care of it. Like they are already on the tablets. They can
Perfect.
also check them out. And adding to those, as we said, Monday or 2 days of work check and 1 day of live demos.
Okay.
And like the student or the dentist, they are going to be able to see multiple instructors, and they're
Right.
gonna take the experience from all of them. So
That's my favorite part, because I think that if you're getting to directly interact with the instructors every day, and they're, as you said, lively, they tailor the instructions for the students.
yeah,
So
because
that's
again, like most of the people when they moved in as a dentist, they were like practicing dentistry, some of them for a long time.
Right.
So it's really, when they come to this country at the start, it will just like, it's not going to be pleasant on the start usually.
Right.
So what I can tell them, it's doing these exams is not that hard, it's not that tough. I'm not saying they are so easy, but it's not impossible. You can take them. Everyone are like, there's a lot of people who finished the process.
Right.
And you just, it's about a matter of time most of the time, and try the best for everyone not to waste these chances, and to go and just to take it from the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
It's, when you say these chances, how many attempts do the
Yeah, that's
doctors
what I
get?
wanted to actually to touch upon. All of these exams, the equivalency exams in general, and the board exams, the NDEB gives 3 chances only, and this is one of the most, like, the hardest challenge we already have here.
Okay.
Because if you have unlimited trials, it's gonna be a matter of time until like
Right.
you have this exam. Okay, so the 3 chances, again, like, this is, for me, it's more important than even the financial aspect of them. They are not cheap, of course, but again, to lose one of these chances, it is sometimes it hurts. So it's really better to prepare yourself, like take courses. It will help more usually when you are like focused this way. Don't try to do it alone. Like AFK, there is a lot of people trying to do it alone. I'm not saying you cannot make it, but if you really want to do great, like you want to get a great score or you're gonna get a great help from that, take a course and see how it will reflect on you.
Right. Especially like when you have just 3 attempts, it is, I think, advisable to not do it all by yourself. Having said that, people can do it for sure.
Exactly. I will tell you something. When I came here, I didn't know anything, honestly, and I couldn't find anyone even to help me with that as a start. This is what happened with most of the people.
Right.
So I applied, I registered,
and
after I got my registration, I applied for the exam and I studied on my own, and it was really tough. It wasn't that easy to go over this exam on your own. So I wish if I knew there is a courses to take.
Right.
So it would at least help me also, and also I would have scored better than what I scored on my own.
Okay. Great, thank you for sharing your experience with us. That means a lot to, I'm sure, even the people who are listening. So, Doctor, what is the order in which the exams should be taken?
Like it depends, it varies. Like in general, the first exam it should be AFK. This is a must. This is mandatory from the NDEB. No one has a choice over that. So the first thing after registration is the AFK. After like the AFK, after like the dentist passed the AFK exam, then he or she gonna have the ACJ and ACS exam open. They have the choice to do either both together over Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or one just 6 months after the exam, and the other one will be also 6 months apart between these exams. The best option or the best combination we've seen from people is after AFK they will have sometime 2 to 3 months, it depends on their cycles, 2 to 3 months to prepare for the next exam in, let's say they did the exam in February, the result will be in April, then they have 2 months to prepare for the exam, for any of these exams in June cycle. So if they want to apply those 2 months, they're gonna be fit for ACJ material in general. So it's better to study the ACJ and to do it and to give it in June, and then to 6 months later, like in December, to give the ACS, because ACS needs time.
Okay. That's great. So Doctor, we'll now get to our questions part. To begin with, we're going to take the questions that came to us via email, via Instagram. These questions have been coming to us since the past 2 weeks since we announced this event. One of the most asked questions is, what is the pre-arrival prep that people can do before they come to Canada, before the course begins? What can they study?
The first thing as a study, I would ask anyone to study those books where they have like the dental reviews books, like Mosby Dental Review. This is one of the main books people are studying before they come to Canada. It's already this book is already it's like a part of a very good textbook regarding dentistry, and it covers a lot of aspects. As a start, they can start with that book. But there is also people, they are focusing on dental dicts. I think dental dicts, they have a different approach. They are specialized for the American, not the Canadian. People, they can go over that, but they have to keep an open mind of some changes when they start the course after they come here. So as a start, as I said, like any of these dental review books, if they were American or North American books, that would be better than European or other review books.
That's a great tip, Doctor. I'm sure that answers a lot of questions. We have one question coming from Dr. Ayman Muhammad. He's asking us what the success rates for the doctors that join our course are.
So in general, like the successful rate in the NDEB or the passing rate in the NDEB, it's usually very low. It's around 50 to 60 in AFK. In judgment, it was in 70s. Now it went down to like not last cycle, the 2 cycles before, it went down to like 30 to 40.
So this is for the main NDEB
Yeah, the
board
main
exams.
NDEB. I'm talking about the
Right.
main NDEB. So I
Okay.
just want to give a comparison between the
Perfect.
main
Right.
and then the skills. It's usually in 40.
Okay.
30 to 40.
Right.
So our passing rate, it's also like it reflects at least 1 to 2 times more than 1.5 to 2 times more than the NDEB, and sometimes
Okay.
it's higher. As an example, in AFK, the passing rate is usually really, really high. It's like
Okay.
90, 95, 93, 94. In
That's
the past
great.
3 years, at least, was more than 90 most of the time. And even sometimes it reaches more than 95%. For the ACJ in the 2 years ago or 1 year ago, the passing rate was like always really, really high,
Okay.
in 80s you can say, or
That's
even
great.
sometimes more. But in the last year, the exams and DEB made it really, really tough, and they
Yes.
changed a lot of aspect in it.
Okay.
So they were just I think they were playing around with these exams, so the passing rate from the NDB went really, really below
Okay.
average, and our passing rate kept into between 50 to 60.
Okay.
Now it came back between 65 to 75,
Right.
which is a good result according, like in the last
Absolutely.
cycle compared to the one before.
Absolutely.
ACS in general, we have a stable also, like the AFK, a very stable percentage, usually between 65, 70 to 75 every cycle,
All
since
right.
like basically in the last 3 years.
Okay.
When you compare these to the NDEB like passing rate, it's really a good numbers.
Great.
And again, it's like, you know, sometimes when people are focusing on the percentage, because it doesn't only depend on us, we provide mostly the thing everyone needs to pass, but at the
Right.
end of the day, it's also the dentist effort
Definitely.
they have to put on. So
Definitely.
you know, just like we like from our part, I'm sure we do our best most of the time.
Yes, that's a great answer,
Yeah.
and thank you, Dr. Mohammed, for your question. The next question comes from Dr. Akashdeep Kaur. She asks us, if you complete equivalency process in Canada, can you practice dentistry in the US?
So, like from my experience, what I've heard, there's some provinces, I'm not sure, or I mean some states in the United States, they accept the Canadian board, and
Okay.
you will be allowed to practice. I'm not sure what they are. I think you have to go and ask like each state to see, like
Right.
there is
Because each state has
a
different
different
rules.
line. Yeah, exactly. Each
Perfect.
states in the United States, even in Canada, each province have a different
Different rules.
accepting different rules to accept dentists to
Right.
practice or to give the license in general.
All right, that's thank you for your question, Dr. Kaur. The next question comes from Dr. Vaishali Rath. She asks you, Doctor, what do you suggest? Should DDS be done first, or should the equivalency program be done first?
Like usually, like I think we didn't mention that when you're done with the AFK,
Sure.
with the ACGS and ACS, also there is another route.
Okay.
It would be open, which is the university route.
All right.
To apply for Canadian dental schools,
Right.
to get accepted, to do the last 2 years in their program, and to get the DDS or the DMD from them.
Okay,
from
so
the-
that actually we can go towards that question
Yes,
right now.
it's exactly
Yes.
like I will cover also her question in my answer. So, what we are advising everyone is to keep their options open, so
Okay.
they can apply for universities.
Mhm.
In the meanwhile, not to stop, also to keep doing their exams.
Okay.
So focus on both lines as a start.
All right.
You might have one of them. You might have both to choose from at the end, which one you're gonna proceed with.
Okay.
The difference, there is a small difference in between, like there is minor differences, advantages and disadvantages on each. So the advantages of equivalency process, it's cheaper, it will, like it's less costly, and in terms of cost it will cost less, and it's faster.
Okay.
If people finish their exams like one by one, it's gonna be faster than going to university and also paying a lot of money. But the problem is you're gonna be like, you are not going to change anything in your certification or your original certificate. It's going to be as you were in
Right.
general. So wherever you graduated from, you're going to have that degree in general. If you have the DDS or the DMD from a Canadian university, you will be allowed to practice all around the world. Like it's gonna give you more options. If you also want to go to a higher degrees, you still can do that in your throughout equivalency process.
Okay.
But what I tell people, if you go to the DDS program or universities route, you're gonna be in exposed to more maybe doctors, professor. If you really want to go for a higher
Right.
degrees like a mastering or a BDH in general. So each one you have to look at yourself first. Apply for both, like focusing on both, especially if you get a very good score in AFK. After that, see what are your needs. So in general, if someone wants just to practice dentistry, equivalency process is way more than enough for that. If someone who is really focusing on teaching or being a teaching assistant or going for higher degrees, he definitely, it's better maybe to go for the university route.
Right.
Financial problem, the financial aspect of it is also another problem. It depends on each one how they can handle that.
So NDEB is definitely is the NDEB route is cheaper and faster.
Cheaper and faster in general, because like after you get accepted to university, it's gonna take at least 7-8 months to start the program. Some university they are a bit less, like 6 months, but overall you need to take another 2 years in the school. And like in the schools, yes, you're gonna learn new stuff, but in general it's dentistry all around the world. It's the same thing. Like, the only benefit out of it is just having a Canadian certificate.
Definitely. I think that's very good advice, doctor, because this is a question that a lot of our students also have of which
I personally
route
have this question a lot, like when people that like just come to ask or to gather some information. This is one of the questions people are asking a lot.
Great, that's very good advice that you gave, doctor, on which route is better, the NDEB route or the university route.
Exactly.
So that's great. Thank you so much.
By the way, like here also at the prep, we have multiple instructors who got accepted in both, who had that option of having both.
Great.
Yeah.
So they keep sort of both the options open sometimes.
Keep them open. Just apply for both of them. See if you got accepted somewhere in university and you have also completed your equivalency process. Then it's gonna be yours to choose from.
So doctor, at this time, can you talk about the university courses that we also have? What is the process to get inside these
so the problem, each universities have a different requirements. Most of the universities, they are doing something called a bench exam, which they are going to practice something similar to clinical skills exam. So we provide a course which usually starts in June most of the time. Also we provide the latest updates or the latest aspect, and we focus on whatever university needs. Again, these needs usually get changed, like they varies from one university to another, and also they get changed from year to year. So we try our best to gather this information and to provide them also for those students who
so we're always up to date with the
exactly. This is one of the things we keep up always with. Some universities, they focus on only interview. We also provide like an interviews for most of these universities to help students tackle this part.
Alright, so that's great. So if you guys need some information about the university courses that we have, it's available on our website. You can always ask us questions on Facebook or you can email them to us. So just if you want to do the university route or the NDEB route, always feel free to reach out. The next question comes from, and Dr. Vaishali Rath, thank you for your question. The next question comes from Dr. Mikhail Waklowski. I'm sorry if I'm not saying it right, doctor. He's asking if the past papers with answered dental decks and first aid enough to pass the exams, the AFK exams?
By themselves, I don't think they are only enough. But like, you have to take, like, if you go to the NDEB website and to see the studying resources, they focus on the actual, like, the textbooks, the main textbook of dentistry. So these books, they are good to start reviewing, to start also like just reading or refreshing the memory, especially if someone who left university in a long time. Just to focus on these, to pass the exam, it's gonna be a bit tough. You might have a good knowledge. It helps you also to tackle this exam. But again, I would prefer taking courses all the time, because in like 4 or 5 months of the time, it's gonna help you build up the knowledge and whatever you need to do the exam.
And even the knowledge that you need to do the upcoming ACJ and ACS
because
exams.
We are refreshing and building up our usually refreshing the old information everyone is already having or supposed to have, and we're gonna also focus on the main things NDEB needs for this exam.
That's very good advice, doctor. And thank you, Dr. McCall, for your question. The next question comes from Dr. Vishnu Chandran. He's requesting us to talk a bit about the programs to take the university bench test. I think we already mentioned that, but if you can give a little more.
So again, like we here, how we focus on this exam, we have like in the different universities. I'm gonna talk about specifics into it. So we have Western Ontario University, which they have a bench exam. We have also the Manitoba University, which also they have a bench exam, and also Alberta. These three university, we take them in one course.
Okay.
This course will have like an interview.
So can you say the locations again, doctor?
The Western University exam, and the Western University, the dental school in Western University, and then the dental school in Manitoba University, and also the dental school in Alberta.
All right. Okay.
In Alberta University. So these three universities, they have a similar approach in general, which you have to do a practical exam, and sometimes you have to do like an interview, and sometimes there's an English exam. So basically what we focus in our course to build up the clinical skills for these exams, which they are like not as hard as the skills in general.
Okay.
And also we provide the interview options for the students. What we provide in this, usually we provide like similar questions of the exams of the interview, the right way to answer these exams, and what each university are looking when you are when they ask these questions. Like let's say Western University, they need you to focus on this part. That's what they like to hear from you. Yeah, this is how we just take over these university courses.
That's great advice, doctor, especially when the seats are so limited and when there's such few options of universities.
Exactly. And one more thing, we have also University of Toronto. We have just a special course for the interview for the University of Toronto.
All right.
And regarding the Dalhousie, Dalhousie, usually if you go over the normal university, you're gonna get the skills part. The interview, it's also, if you take the, let's say, University of Toronto interview course, it's gonna be almost covered there. Then there's some extra things like English. Again, English, it depends on each one and how they have to prepare for it. But we prepare the dental aspect of the exam.
Great, thank you, doctor. The next question comes from Dr. Imad Masri. This again, we touched upon this topic a little bit in the session before, but the question is, can you please advise which exam to do first, ACS or ACJ?
Okay, as I said, the first exam is better it's really better to give the ACJ first, because after the AFK, you're gonna have 2 to 3 months after the results, 2 to 3 months to do the to prepare for the judgment, which they are basically enough to do this exam. And then after that, you need at least like 5 months, 5 to 6 months to prepare for the skills. So the first exam to choose after AFK is the judgment, according to whatever I'm seeing from everyone, and also this is usually the best option. And then to give the skills. It's like usually we don't recommend people to take both exams together, even though we have a good, there's a good number of people who already did it, which is again they were brave enough to show up for both exams, and they passed through both exams.
Great, doctor. Thank you, Dr. Imad Masri, for your question. The next question comes from Dr. Ayman Muhammad. He's asking us what are the best places to take your course. So please tell them about the locations that we have.
So for AFK, I think we have Mississauga location physically, and then we broadcast to Calgary, to Vancouver, and also in United Arab Emirates. Now we are launching, it will start by September. And then regarding the ACJ, the same thing. I think it's going to be broadcast all around Canada. I don't think in Dubai or maybe in UAE it's going to be soon. I'm not sure. We're going to also, exactly. We will give an information about that if we have it. The skills, we have physical location, should be of course physical. So we have a Mississauga location and we have the Richmond location. So in the last 3 years, Richmond was just starting. People, they have a negative things toward Richmond in that time, but I think since like last year, like since 3 years ago up to now, Richmond is doing very well. Both of them are doing really great. Here there is more number of people in Mississauga. In Richmond it's gonna be a smaller group.
Right.
Usually, like anyway, like in general, if I would advise we both available in both locations.
Absolutely.
Same instructors almost in both locations, and the same concept, the same way of teaching. Then it depends on the group itself. So if you have a friend that's say in Mississauga, just come to Mississauga. It's really good to be around friends of you while you are doing this process. The same thing in Richmond. If it is closer to you, Richmond or Mississauga, then this is the way to choose it. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna like say it, whatever suits you, just take it. We will provide our best service everywhere, like in Richmond or in Mississauga.
Yes, definitely. It's the same instructors, the same coursework,
exactly.
same lab facilities.
Exactly.
In both the sessions, in both the locations, there's a Mississauga location and there's a Richmond Hill location here in Ontario.
Yeah.
And then we have a location in Vancouver, and we have a location in Calgary where
both locations though they are for AFK only, not for SCALs.
AFK and ACJ.
And ACJ, yes.
And the AFK and the ACJ courses are remotely available in those locations. So when we say remotely available, the students actually sit for the lecture the same time they sit over here.
Exactly, and they will have the same interaction. Exactly as here. They have the chance to ask. They have the chance also. They're gonna be seen over screens here. Like the students there, they're gonna be also seeing the lecturer over screens there, and gonna be like almost the same experience.
It's the same experience, and you get to ask. I think the best part is you get to interact directly with the instructor, so you get your questions answered.
Yes.
Great, thank you, doctor. So, doctor, the next question comes from Dr. Hira Alam. Are the exams same throughout Canada? As you mentioned, that rules are different from province to province and state to state. So, if you pass your exam in any other province and want to practice in Ontario, is it possible?
Okay, let me just clarify this point too. State, they have like NDEB, which is a different licensing like authorities in the state. I will talk about Canada in general. NDEB, National Dental Examining Board of Canada, NDEB, sorry. Usually they are this is the main requirement of any province licensing authorities. So
no matter what province,
exactly, whenever you finish the equivalency process in the by the NDEB, this is like a federal, this is all around Canada.
Everybody has to do this.
Exactly. After that, each province, they have just, it's like it's gonna be just a paperwork most of the time. You're gonna submit your application, and the main requirement is to be like to be done with the board the equivalency process and the board exams. You have to give those 5 exams.
Right. So they just take the NDEB exams, and then they have to complete the paperwork for their respective provinces.
Exactly.
All right. That's great.
So the NDEB will be, the exams will be the same. Like they will be the same over all the provinces, and the equivalency process when you're done with it, and with on the board, and the Canadian board when you're done with it. It's like the main requirement on each province. They need the main thing they need it is the equivalency process and the board exam.
Okay, that's great. The next question, thank you, Dr. Hiralam, for your question. The next question comes from Dr. Kirti Rora. Prep Doctors AFK session 2019 is starting on September 1st. So
2019?
Yes, this was the September session. She has registered, I think, for the September session. She's asking, how can I prepare myself with basics before joining Prep Doctors?
Yeah, like as I mentioned before, to read one of those reviews, dental reviews books like Mosby, like First Aid. Also, they can, like, you're gonna touch upon those basics in dentistry. It's gonna help you also just when you come to the course, because the course is gonna be condensed most of the time. So if you are done with the basics and you're gonna come here and focus on the hard stuff, then you're gonna have more time to study or to focus on them. It's really good to start with the Mosby, with the First Aid, sometime with the DICS. But again, the problem with dental DICS is just the Canadian, the American approach is a bit different than Canadian approach. So we prefer like just the Mosby and the First Aid more.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Kirti Rora, for your question. With Dr. Kirti's question, I'll like to ask you another question which comes from a lot of our inquiries that we get online on Facebook.
Yeah.
Is the prep doctor study material enough?
It's, again, like the material we provided, it's huge.
Okay.
It's not like a small material.
All right.
The first thing I would answer usually when anyone asks this question is just finish this material and ask us after that, because even if you were able to finish it, it's gonna be really good. It's gonna it's gonna put you on the right way for this exam. But if you want to read, there's a lot of things you can read and you can go over. Let's finish the main or the most important part. After that, we will focus on extra stuff.
Great. So, as you're saying, the prep doctor study material covers all the things that there are.
Yes, they cover mostly everything they need for the exam.
Okay, and if they are able to get through that,
it's gonna be more than enough, I think.
All right, great. The next question comes from Dr. Soni Arora. He's asking about the fees. So all the fees, everything is mentioned on the website. On the website.
I honestly don't know.
Yes, everything is mentioned on the website www.dentistry@prepdoctors.ca. You can also ask us questions on Facebook. Just send us the questions via Messenger. Most of the questions get answered right away. So all the questions about fees, schedules, what time do the courses start, the duration of the courses, anything you need to know, you can always reach out to us via Facebook or Instagram or even email. We're always there.
Even phone also they can call.
Yes, you can call the front desk. So doctor, another question that came to us via email was, is it possible to work and study at the same time while they're preparing for the NDEB exams? Can they also work?
Yeah, this is really a good question. So, what I usually my answer is, some people they are doing it they throughout the whole process or all the exams they would be working and doing this. It's gonna be tough, yes. So if I wanna tell anyone if they wanna work, they can work while they're doing the AFK or the ECJ, because usually AFK courses, the course will be taking place over the weekend. In the meantime, they can manage between the studying time, their own studying time, and their working time. Okay, so they can do that while they are doing the first exam. Same thing goes for ECJ. So basically, I think the course will be covered also over the weekend. Then after that, they have to manage their own study time with their working time, and everything will be fine. But when we go to the skills, this is the part where I usually advise people not to have a work on them, because the skills, it's already a work by itself. It's a 6 days work. You should be practicing for 6 days, at least 5 hours every day, and this is physical. You're gonna lose a lot of power throughout doing this. It's actually mental and physical tiredness. So I usually advise people, if they really have to work, to find a very easy part-time jobs in general, not to go for hard jobs. It's gonna also physically hit them at that point. So it's really better to finish the exam, then after that everything hopefully will be fine for the rest of the life.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, doctor, for answering that question. The next question comes from this question came from Instagram actually. She asked if it is there's a technical glitch. Oh, sorry, we are getting actually a question from Dr. Imad Masri again. Is it possible to have intensive course for ACS, as I stay in a different province and it is difficult to stay in Ontario for 5 months? So they're asking that they're in a different province, and what should they ideally be doing?
It's actually a bit tough. I think I'm gonna introduce that idea, because there's many people also asking about this, a condensed course. But the problem with the skills, you need the time to build up that skills, and you need someone really reliable to check your work on a periodic time, every 2 to 3 days at least. So the best option like it's again like I would advise anyone to come and take the course and to just move. It really does it deserves the effort overall, because like no matter what, it's not that easy to have similar experience while you are away. Okay, so it's really better to come and to just attend those 5 months. This is the first advice. But if you are not able to come and to do this, we will see if there is really an option for the condensed course. I know it's gonna be not as like the 5 months when you're taking complete course, but if there's something like that, I think just keep following the Prep Doctor pages and over Facebook, or go over the website. The update will be there if that's a possibility.
Definitely. And they can so doctor, the next question is from my Instagram question. What happens after the NDEB process is complete? They achieve their licensure, they clear all the exams. How do they actually get back to practicing dentistry? So like again, the challenges most of the time is some people, when they move to this country, they move with their families and they just postpone their dental work for 2-3 years because they want to settle down, especially if they are providing for their families. When they settle down, sometime 2 to 3 years, they start doing these exams. It took them 1.5 years to finish these exams. Then they will be out of dental world, or then out of a clinic for 4 years to 5 years sometimes. So this is a challenge to get back to, especially because it's keeping changing and keeps on updates. We usually have we provide some CE courses for the people to start with, like DPE, dental essential practice. We have the endo course also. It helps the start for that. And also there's another courses we are building. We are in the way of building them up for also the start in general. Usually the start is not easy, but it's a period of time which everyone should go through, and everything after that will be totally fine. Yes, absolutely. That's great advice, because they do some of our doctors have never practiced in their home countries.
We have a lot of fresh graduate now these days. This is also another point. When they are taking these, they're gonna build them in a Canadian way, how to deal with the clinics, all the Canadian rules and regulations in the clinics in general.
Great, that's great advice, doctor. And especially I think our CE course, the continued education course of dental practice essentials, is designed for doctors like this. It's like the first step.
Exactly.
Great. So now we're going to take our last question, because we're running out of time, but we'll continue taking more questions over email or over the comments, and we'll definitely make sure that we get tips from Dr. Fersan and we get back to you. Our last question for today comes from Dr. Mirza Beg, who is asking this question, I think, from India. How much is the expenditure for an Indian till entire course? So I think this is a difficult question.
It is really difficult.
It is a difficult question.
He's talking about the whole process.
Yes, he's talking about how expensive this process usually is.
Let me just give you an idea in general. So these exams, they are already in the NDEB website up to now. The exams, the prices for these exams, the registration is around 1,000. I'm not sure if it's a bit more or a bit less. In my time, it used to be.
So we're talking Canadian dollars.
Yeah, Canadian dollars. Then we have 1,000 to 1,200 for the AFK. Then 2,000 for ACJ. Then skills is around 7,000. Again, these numbers, please go check them in the NDEB website. Sometimes they might have 200 extra or 200 less. So it's gonna be around these prices. For the courses, again, it's I think around 4,500 for the AFK, something like that. Maybe for as a courses. ACJ, it's a bit less as a course. The ACS, it's similar to the exam amount, I think. So you are talking now about more than 30,000 between. No, around 20,000, 24,000 between exams and courses. Then you have to know, you have to see your the place to stay. How, if you are going to rent, if you have a family, if you are on your own, if you are going to work, if you are not going to work. It depends now on each one. The instrument by themselves for the skills, let's say, sometime what I say, skills exam by itself usually, the way also it cost me myself, it's between 29,000 to
Okay.
40,000 just for the ACS, with the time, with the rent, with the instruments you want,
Right.
and with the exam. After that, like, and also you have to add like the cost for ACG and and AFK, which is usually less. So we are
Okay.
talking about 50, sometimes goes to 60, 70 or 80, depend on life expenses or
Right.
the way each one is dealing with it.
Definitely.
So it's a bit costly, but again, if you compare it to universities, when they are going to pay at least 200 or more
Right.
$1,000, gonna be in debt usually, yes, but still they have
Absolutely.
this amount, you should pay it at one
Right.
point. So you have to again see and compare.
Yes, and Doctor, I think this is a good time to mention that for our courses, we do have some options for financing.
Yes.
So you can always email to us, and we'll connect you to the right people who will be able to discuss financing options with you. So just send us an email, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah.
So that was the last question for today, Doctor. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. No problem.
We will
Thank you
be.
for joining us also.
Thank you. Please send us more questions if you have any. You can email them to us at feedback@prepdoctors.ca, or you can send them to us in the comments below. We will try to get back to you as soon as possible. We are also always open to your questions, comments, even if you don't know about how to get started, we're always there to give you the most basic information. So reach out to us anytime, and thank you so much for joining us today on this live.
Thank you.